Yo, Hammer fam, welcome back to HammeredHead. Today we're looking at the old OG Clone Wars collection to check out Captain Argyus. He's one of the Senate commandos. This guy was the traitor piece of These dudes are like the ultimate Boba Fett. They look super cool, but they are totally useless. Every single episode they show up in, they either get clobbered, or in this guy's instance are, treasonous wastes of life. So not the best showing on the Star Wars front, I thought. They look really cool. A lot of wasted opportunity with these dudes. I don't know, hopefully they'll show up in future media and actually do something more productive. But he's got a pretty stoic image on the card back there. Kind of classic. It looks pretty alright in there. We get a firing missile launcher, which is pretty fun. There he is on the back in a little awkward pose, and then straight out of the show. This was a pretty good episode, but yeah, I kind of wish the Senate Commandos were just better in pretty much every possible way they could be. CW31, Captain Argyus. Senate Commando Captain Argyus assists in the transportation of captured Separatist leader Newt Gunray. A member of the Senate Guard, Argyus fights the battle droids that have attacked the ship in an effort to free Gunray. But Argyus has a secret agenda that will jeopardize the successful completion of this important mission. Yeah, not great. Not the best person in the galaxy. But he looks pretty cool in the package there, so let's see if he's got a good figure. Okay, so here he is. He does look pretty cool. The biggest complaint I have, really, is his helmet. It looks awesome, but you can see it's kind of bent. It's made of this really flimsy and thin plastic, which that in and of itself isn't a huge deal, but it's kind of like squished into this shape. So when you put it on his head, it looks a little goofy just because it's like covering up his eye. If it fit perfect, or I mean, if it was the right shape, that would look really sweet. But just because it's kind of stuck it that way, it looks really goofy. Other than that, I think the helmet looks pretty awesome. Nice sculpt. A little bit of paint on it, which is nice. Figure itself is decent. The face looks really good. I think they kind of nailed the look of the character in there. Same with the hair. The eyes look decent too. Really nice paint apps on his shoulder there. I think that the sculpt in general for that looks really good. So I'm happy with the way that turned out. The rest of him is pretty simple. It is an OG animated Clone Wars figure, so not a whole lot of detail on the sculpt. It's basically just a blue clone trooper, from what I can tell. But it's a nice shade of blue. Looks decent. He kind of holds the blaster okay. It could be better. Not the best grip I've ever seen. And just he's got a trigger finger on here, but it doesn't really fit into the blaster itself, which is unfortunate. And then as for the blaster, it's pretty simple. Just a basic, animated Clone Wars gun. Nothing crazy. So yeah, overall I think he looks pretty decent. Could be improved a little bit, but for a single episode character, I think this is the best we're going to get. Articulation checks out for a character of this age. Nothing crazy. He's got a ball head, ball shoulders, go about 90. Get a little less than 90 in the elbow. He does have swivel wrists. Or, a hinge at the wrist, which is pretty cool. So that's nice. Pose him with a blaster a little bit. We get a ball waist, swivel hips. Knees go significantly less than 90, which kind of sucks. And then decent range of motion in the ankles here. So yeah, he's definitely an older Clone Wars figure, but it's actually not the worst articulation we've seen in those guys. So I can't complain about that. The other accessory is this rocket launcher, which looks pretty cool. It's kind of a fun sculpt. Decent amount of detailing on it. No paint apps or anything. But that's fun. And then we can plug in a little rocket here. And then he grabs it pretty decently in his left arm here, or in his left hand. Slide that right in. And let's test it out. Look at that. Fires pretty well. And yeah, actually it doesn't look too goofy with him holding it. Some of these things look really ridiculous. I'll God, stand up, for God's sake. Alright. So that's Captain Argyus. Pretty basic figure. Could be a little bit better, especially with that helmet. But I think the appearance is good enough for the character that this is. And I'm sure that helmet could be fixed if I really put my mind to it, just kind of holding it back in place for long enough. Now, I don't know if they made other Senate Commando figures. If not, they probably should make a generic one because they do look really awesome. This guy I don't think they need to redo because he sucked. And this kind of gets the job done well enough. But yeah, I'd say he's worth picking up because he definitely adds a nice flare of blue to your collection. And really adds out those, or adds to those Senate displays if you got them set up. But, you know, I wouldn't go out of your way because it's not the best figure ever and it's probably the worst character ever. But yeah, that's all we got for Captain Argyus. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thank you to my Patreon subscribers. Be sure to follow on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out the Patreon page. And don't forget, stay hammered.